Hey, deserving listeners, a lot of you have been asking me to react to the Vanderpump Rules situation, so I'm going to do that right now. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and professor. Let's see what happens.
Who's the hotter Tom, Schwartz or Scandoval? 3, 2, 1.
Scandoval.
Oh, wow. You said it too.
In his camera roll, I found a screen recording of Raquel and Tom. My stomach dropped into my ass.
I did not even know this show existed until last week because a lot of people were asking me to watch it. For some reason, I thought it was associated with James Vanderbeek, but that doesn't make any sense. So if you've come to this video looking for an in-depth analysis of the entire show of what's happening, I can't provide that. I will try to evaluate the affair that I have heard about and also the apology, which I think I probably will be able to do without having watched the previous episodes. But some people who watch my channel have actually sent me some summaries. So yeah, initially I wasn't going to do it, but then I had my hair cut yesterday and the hair cutter, she was asking me to watch it because we often talk about Love is Blind and 90 Day Fiancé, and she's like, oh, you have to do Vanderpump Rules. And so for the half-hour haircut, she gave me a lot of the details, and I was like, oh, actually, it does sound like something I might be able to watch. And then T-Sky actually sent me this summary of what's been happening. So I'm just going to read what T-Sky says here. Basically, before the season started airing on TV, the public found out Tom Sandoval had been cheating on his life partner of 9 years, Ariana Madix, with her best friend, Raquel Levis. So I believe this is Ariana, and then we just saw Tom. Okay, so Tom and Ariana were together for 9 years, and then before this season, before season 10, because, you know, they filmed the season a long time ago, and then it came out that Tom was cheating on her best friend, Raquel. Okay. Raquel is much younger in age and previously engaged to another cast member, James Kennedy. I think my haircutter said that Raquel is 28 and Tom is 40, I think. We found out that the affair had been going on for 8 months prior, which meant it was going on while they were filming the season. So as the season started airing, the public was able to scrutinize everything Tom and Raquel did, knowing that they were cheating the entire time. Yeah, that must have really added a element to the season, because when they're filming, they didn't know that the public would know about the infidelity, and so you're watching and seeing a bunch of signs, also seeing their lies and behavior with Ariana, who had no idea about the affair, was heartbreaking. Yeah, to watch Ariana say that she loves Tom, or, you know, talk about the future of her relationship with Tom. And I don't know, maybe Ariana and Tom will recover from the infidelity. That is something that is possible. A lot would depend on if Ariana wanted to do that, but it is a process that people can engage in. So going on here. The finale episode, which is this episode, was filmed after the affair was discovered, obviously because they're talking about it. There are many raw and heartbreaking conversations in this episode. So, okay. So let's continue watching.
Raquel comes up to me and I'm like, what is going on? And she just nonchalantly looks at me and was like, yeah, Sandoval and I have been having an affair for 7 months. Ariana just found out.
What?
I know what I did was really
Yeah, infidelity is awful and hurtful, and it is immoral to do it, meaning that you know you are doing something that is hurtful to another person. You know that it will be very hurtful to another person. It's one thing to drunkenly have a one-night stand with someone and feel terrible about it the next day. It's another thing to repeatedly, over the span of 8 months, make literally thousands of choices to continue the affair, to deepen the affair, and to lie by omission and lie in other ways directly to your partner. It's atrocious. Just break up. That's it. Now, as a therapist, I don't judge people. I will call it immoral, and I actually am upset at my field sometimes because I will observe other therapists basically making excuses for people that commit adultery. And in a nutshell, case-by-case basis, but with clients that are engaging or have engaged in infidelity, I don't chastise them, but I don't mince words. I will say So you knowingly, if they're currently in the affair and hiding it from their partner, I will say, so I just want to be clear, you know that you are making thousands of choices throughout the week to continue to do something that's harmful to another person, someone that you say that you love. I just want to be clear about that. Is that what is happening right now? Because people will make justifications, they'll go into denial about it, and it's just not okay. Now, should they be burned at the stake? No. People make mistakes and they deal with the consequences. But the thing I want to talk about, two things. One is that we heard from Ariana when she first heard about the affair, the floor dropped out from underneath her or something like that. And what I'll say about that is that I actually have had clients in the past who had legitimate post-traumatic stress disorder because of finding out about an affair. And with the advent of phones, it can happen very quickly. I had a client once who her husband left the house and accidentally left his phone on the nightstand. And she heard the notifications going off, and so she just casually picked up the phone, like, who's blowing up his phone? And there are all these texts between the husband and the woman that he was having an affair with. And so it was very clear immediately to her and to the body, to this woman's emotional system, that betrayal was happening, that lies had been happening, that there's a threat. It's a danger, right? It's very upsetting. Suddenly your world is just turned upside down, and it can be traumatizing. It isn't for everyone. I would say it's on the rarer side of things, but it can happen. Our sense of safety depends on being able to trust people around us. And when we can't trust people around us, then we don't feel safe. And sometimes we feel extremely unsafe, right? And so she had a terror reaction, a very fearful reaction, absorbing everything that was happening. She panicked and she ran out of the house because she was panicking. And for a number of hours, she was in a very raw emotional state, a lot of fear, a lot of adrenaline. And what that did was that actually set in motion the neurological basis of PTSD, such that a year later, if there was a trigger like seeing someone's phone light up with a notification, she would actually have a spike in terror and a lot of fear response. And there's a lot of other symptoms to PTSD. And so I set out to help her recover from PTSD, and it didn't take a long time, but it did take some work, obviously, from her mainly. So yeah, make no joke about it. To learn about someone's infidelity can absolutely be legit traumatizing, capital T traumatizing. The second thing I want to comment on is that for the community, for the friends, for the viewers, for the fans, it can also be very troubling, right? We can talk about parasocial relationships. A lot of people will judge people for having a parasocial relationship. It's very normal I have my parasocial relationships. There are YouTube channels I watch. There are TV shows that I watch. There are podcasts that I listen to that I absolutely have a deep parasocial relationship. Ira Glass from This American Life. I've had a parasocial relationship with him for 20 years because I've been listening to that podcast, and before that, the radio show. I feel like I know him in a certain way. Anyway, so it's normal. It's okay. It's totally healthy to have it. What do we do with it, and how does it affect us? That's the question, right? So it's totally normal to watch this show and to be deeply affected by what is happening. And so as I react, I just want you to make sure you check in with yourself, because if I don't react in a way that, because you might have a parasocial relationship with me, and if you were here in the room with me, I'd be able to have a conversation with you and maybe clear some things up. And I don't have the ability to do that. So, just check in with your body, check in with your neck and your torso and your heart and your gut. Make sure that you're not being traumatized by this once again.
I know what I did was really up, and there's no excuse for it. I love her and I care about her. I just don't think we were happy. I really don't.
Okay, they're editing it, and I'm guessing this isn't the first time that he's talked about it, but the way they edited it, I'm going to comment on. And I don't know if that's literally the sequence of things that he said, but he's saying it's a really screwed up thing that I did, but we just weren't happy. Okay. You will hear people that will commit infidelity will say things like this, that, look, we weren't happy together. And what I would say as a citizen or as a therapist is, okay, great, you weren't happy together. Break up before you take actions that are very harmful. So, on the other side of the coin, I've worked with clients who have been cheated on in the past who, for the rest of their lives, question their attachments, question whether or not someone really loves them. It can absolutely traumatize someone, right? Particularly if the infidelity was prolonged, like 8 months. But I've worked with clients who had partners who cheated on them for 5, 6 years, and they didn't know about it. That can completely flip your life upside down. And it would take a long time to begin to trust people again because, for 8 months, Ariana has been presumably believing that he loves her, that he's dedicated her. Also, Raquel, the fact that Raquel and Ariana were friends, I think best friends, that's another betrayal, right? It's just, for the rest of Ariana's life, of course, she's going to wonder, particularly as she recovers from this, does anyone actually care about me, really? Does anyone think about my feelings, really? Can I trust anyone? Should I date again? I mean, how would I know? And that's the whole thing. Like, when you get cheated on like this, it's a very valid question of, okay, the next time I fall in love, and it's 9 years into the relationship, and I don't have any reason to believe that they don't love me. I don't have any reason to believe that they're cheating on me, but I thought that last time. How are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to verify if someone legit actually loves you when they say that they love you? How do you know? Because you can't know. We have to be able to trust. It's a leap of faith. And when things like this happen, it just completely throws all that into question.
I learned on Wednesday night that there are evil, evil people in this world, and sometimes they're the people closest to you. And you have no idea.
Yeah. We have to ask her what she means by evil. But yeah, I mean, that's along the lines of what I was saying, that someone right in front of you, someone that you believe you know very, very well, someone that you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with, that you want to spend the rest of your life with this person. You couldn't imagine spending the rest of your life with anyone else. And right in front of your face, they are lying and cheating and betraying, and they don't care at all about your feelings, or they're not exhibiting that they care about your feelings.
I hate him, but I'm like very quickly becoming
indifferent.
Completely indifferent. He gives me the ick.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. The emotional ups and downs can be dramatic, can come fast at people through experiences like this. I want to be clear, as I said earlier, people can recover from infidelity. There's a notion in culture and on the internet that once a cheater, always a cheater. That is not demonstrated by science, meaning that is there some data demonstrating that people who have cheated before are maybe a little bit more likely to commit infidelity in the future? Sure. But it certainly isn't true that if someone has cheated in the past that they're going to do it in the future. No. Now, I understand from my hair cutter that Tom, I think, cheated with someone Tom was with someone, and he actually cheated on his partner with Ariana. And so maybe Tom is someone that has a greater likelihood of cheating in the future. But even then, I've worked with clients like Tom to help them to work on the problems that lead up to infidelity with varying success. But anyway, so yeah, the emotional ups and downs can be really dramatic. I also wouldn't be surprised if there's a time when she also longs to be with him again. The heart and our limbic system, our emotions, our attachment, it doesn't just go away when we learn about things like this. And for some people, it can be very alarming. Like, why do I still love him? Why do I want to be with him? Or if you start talking about it, particularly, people are going to attack you. I can't believe you're being such a doormat. How can you possibly express any kind of love? There's a lot of things that happen. I wouldn't be surprised for Ariana 2-3 years from now that she still has a longing for him. Now, what she's longing for, if they do break up, which it sounds like maybe they are, I don't know, that if she does long for him, what you're typically longing for is for the relationship you thought you had, or the relationship that you had in the beginning or something. You're not actually longing for him because what you've learned about him subsequently is different than at least it was, or the way you thought it was. So people, don't be ashamed if you have longing for people that intellectually that you shouldn't be with, or you don't want to be with. And certainly don't shame other people for having those normal feelings.
Tom and I got this, our first trip we ever took together.
Where to?
Very Napa Valley when we first started dating. So it's mine now.
Can I bring you anything?
I'm okay. Thanks, though.
Oh, it looks like they still live together, which I guess makes sense. I think that would both complicate things, but also facilitate things. It could complicate things, right? Because Ariana doesn't get a reprieve from the onslaught, but it also could accelerate the recovery or the transition.
Do you want anything?
For you to die.
Well, that's inevitable.
How was your night at Raquel's last night?
I was at Schwartz's.
You were also at Schwartz's when you were together on FaceTime. So you being at Schwartz's doesn't really mean anything.
So if I were there, and I've been here before with clients, they'll come into my office and they will have a chance, for a lot of couples, when they enter a very conflictual time, they will have a truce when they're at home, but then they come into my office and they expect to communicate with each other, and then all of the things that have been building up over time will come out. So I'll hear things like this sometimes, which is fine and good and helpful. It gives us something to work on. And so if I were there, I would support her. Obviously, she's hurting, but I suspect that it might help if we were to clarify what was going on for her, because in this moment she's saying, I want you to die, and did you have fun at Raquel's last night? And totally justified, by the way, totally understandable. If anything, she's being on the kind end of the spectrum. There's a lot worse things that she could be doing that I think a lot of people would feel like she'd be justified. But she is asking these questions, and what I'd want for her own sake, really, I would wonder where she's coming from, because I'm guessing where she's coming from is she's hurt, and part of her doesn't want him to be with her still, which would make total sense. And so I don't know that, obviously. Another part of this that often the cheated on partner will engage in is they will go on a mission to gather information. And I think some of that is healthy for the individual who was cheated on, but some of it is not healthy for the cheated on individual. So it's totally normal that when you're cheated on to be like, how long has it been happening? And then elements will pop in your head like, well, so does that mean when we were at that thing, you were involved? Did you call that person? Or does that mean that thing when you went out of town without me, did you go with her? And I think those kinds of details are important. And of course, if you did do the cheating, then I think you have a moral responsibility to heavily consider actually divulging that information to assist the cheated on individual recover. Because those kinds of questions will plague people, and sometimes getting the answers will help recovery. However, I will see cheated on individuals, and she's not doing that right now, will go too far with it, and they'll want to know every single detail. And I think there are two reasons for it. One is that they're trying to achieve full recovery, and they have one way to get there, which is, okay, once I catalog every detail of the entire infidelity story, then I can finally relax and move on, which makes sense, right? It would make sense that you would feel this compulsion, like I've been lied to, and so I need to know the full story. And that doesn't usually work, to have every small detail. Another thing, once you really get into the details, like, okay, how was it to have sex with this person, that can actually add to the trauma, because it starts to add visualizations to the infidelity to the individual that can actually plague the individual for the rest of their life. Anyway, so I think one reason why people seek more than the healthy amount of information is because they're on a fool's errand to try to recover. Another reason is they might actually be using those questions as a way to humiliate the cheating partner, which I get, but that doesn't necessarily solve anything, right? So anyway, whatever led to him cheating will lead to him continuing to lie about it, right? I'm just going to take a guess and say that he didn't get massive amounts of therapy in between the moment that he was caught and now. So whatever is wrong or particular about his personality that led to the cheating is still likely present. So to expect him to be different is a tall order anyway. So what will happen is she will say, hey, did you do this? Then he'll obscure. That will hurt her more. She'll be more upset. And then you end up bickering about these details instead of, which is, fine from her standpoint. She's hurt. She's been victimized. And so, I get it. But if she is going to move down the road of grief and loss and recovery and clarification for herself, then there are other roads to go down. Like, I'm guessing if there's a more fundamental question that she has that's motivating this question of like, how much, I don't know, typical questions that will emerge when I get underneath these kinds of things for people are, so did you actually love me? Do you love her? When did you fall out of love with me? Why did you do this? How could you do this? Those are more common questions that I think are very worth exploring.
Still haven't said sorry for what you actually did.
Every time I try to apologize to you, it just makes you more angry.
Good, let me.
Yeah. So very common with people going through these conversations. I don't know all the details, but that's pretty awful. One, that he hasn't apologized at all. He hasn't even begun to apologize to her. And two, that he wouldn't take this opportunity to be like, oh, okay. Even if he thought, well, I think I kind of apologized. You cheated for 8 months on a 9-year relationship. I think you might even live together. I don't know. Like, put aside your pride and own up to what you did and show that you have remorse. Now, if he doesn't have remorse, then he doesn't actually have motivation to apologize. If he believes that he did something right. The only thing we've heard from him thus far, and we'll give him the benefit of the doubt until we get more information, the only thing we've heard from him thus far on this edit is that he believes that him and Ariana weren't happy together. Okay, fine. Break up with Ariana then, and then start dating other people. But anyway, so why he wouldn't just take this moment to be like, okay, you know what? I just need to, I'm sorry for what I did. It's wrong. That'd be the beginning. But instead, he says, every time I try to apologize, you get angry. And this is almost universal. There's a whole process. There's a whole set of things that I have to go through with cheating partners when they're in my office. And for these couples, sometimes they know they're trying to recover from the infidelity, meaning they both have a goal of actually improving their relationship and recovering. Sometimes they don't know that. Sometimes they're breaking up and they just want to have goodwill between the two of them because they have kids together or something. And so there's a lot of stages to change that the cheating partner has to go through. And one of the tasks that they almost always have to do is, I think what he's illuminating right now in himself, is that when they apologize, and sometimes this will be the reason why they cheated in the first place, why they didn't break up in the first place, is that some cheaters will feel like they've already addressed it. They feel like, well, I've already apologized. I've already taken responsibility. How come you keep asking me about this? And it's almost a universal thing. It'll happen in the beginning. It'll happen later. And what I tell the cheating partner is, look, it is 100% normal for your partner to continually have negative feelings about what happened and to require or request that you apologize sufficiently. Just because you apologized once, even if you did it really well, even if you did it in this office, and I gave you the 2 thumbs up, and your partner gave you the 2 thumbs up on your apology, that by no means means that you will never need to apologize again. In other instances in life, you can't expect that, right? If you were to, I don't know, make a mistake at work or something, you should expect, depending on the transgression, you should expect to be able to apologize once instead of 1,000 times. Infidelity is on the level that you might have to apologize. It might be fair and moral for you to apologize repeatedly throughout the rest of your life. I will have clients, couples, that will be recovering from infidelity that happened 20 years prior, and the cheating on partner will, for whatever reason, have an upwelling of pain and terror and hurt around the infidelity 20 years later, which is totally normal. And in that moment, if they trust the partner and if they're healthy, they will say, hey, I was just triggered about what happened 20 years ago, and it'd be really great if you could apologize. Sometimes it won't come out that nice. But yeah, this statement that he's making of, every time I try to say something, you get angry. Well, yeah, because she was cheated on. Of course she's going to be angry. That's another part that I will talk with cheating partners of just like, what you did has created so much pain and so much subsequent anger in your partner that you are going to experience it. Now, it doesn't give the Arianas of the world a right to abuse the Toms of the world, but just her being angry or being a little unhinged verbally is expected and normal. And if you have a heart or any morality, you would cut her some slack around that. And while I'm on this topic, one of the research findings, because we've researched infidelity a lot from a lot of different angles, is that the cheating partner almost universally will say eventually something like, I had no idea how much pain this would cause the person. Now, on one hand, you might be thinking, what? But we just don't talk about it enough. Plus, they go into denial, right, during and after, because they have a hard time wrestling with what they've done and the effect that their behavior has had on other people. But they will almost always say something like, if I had any idea how much pain I caused and how much trouble that I personally would have to deal with because of this, I would never have committed the infidelity to begin with. I would have broken up. And there's so many instances of that. And that's why I'm always hoping that people go to therapy before they go down a road of infidelity, because there's a lot of harm that you can avoid if you actually slow down, talk it out with someone that knows what they're doing. All right, well, for the sake of time, let's adjourn there and tune in next time when I continue watching this scene. And everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.